Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today video is continuation of one of my previous YouTube video. A previous video about API gateway integration with FIFO SQS. At the time I have done all the integration through manually, which is using AWS console. The today tutorial basically use Cloudformation template. So everything in as a code, so you can deploy as much as possible. And the CloudFormation template will be available in the GitHub. I'll put the link below. Please refer. And as usual, yes, if you like my content and my video, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Let's start. As a prerequisite of this tutorial, you should have AWS SAM CLI tool installed, and I'll put the link below. As you can see, this is a AWS page. You can find how to install AWS SAM on your operating system, based on your operating system. And the other one is you need to create a profile where you can access your AWS account through terminal. So I'm using Mac. And for example, I've already set up my AWS account. So if I do, just to make sure, S3ls, so it should list down all the S3 bucket in my account. Yeah, it's already configured. Right, let's get in to the code. Like, let's start my VS Code, and this is my serverless template. As I mentioned, I'm using a SAM serverless template as a SAM and deploy through SAM CLI tool. Right. So very first thing is, as you can see, it's a pretty this bit. It's very standard. They say the first line, the line number 2, says AWS template format version. This is a AWS version we are using, and the transform we are using serverless. And whatever the description you want, you can put anything here. And over here I'm creating just one parameter. I just want to show you how parameter get replaced with within the resources. So for example, in this case, I'm creating one variable or one parameter, which is environment type, as a string. So that's about the parameter. So then I do have, in this case, 3 resources. For example, you can see under resources we do have a 3 object, and the first object is, in this case, to integration the API gateway to access SQS. We should have permission. So this is where I'm creating a new role. So as you can see, it's give it a name, and the type is AWS IAM role, and it says what are the permission the API gateway needs to access SQS. So in this case, as you can see, I'm creating the policy document and inline policy document, which allow API gateway access to enable the assume role. Basically, this is a assume role. There are 2 policies need. One is assume role. The second one, as you can see, if you go further down, it says this role have access to one of the queue. Over here you can see API receive queue. I define here, which is defined in further down. I'll show you where it is defined. And this says, okay, I need to have an action type, the send message. Basically what it says, say this role has a capability of sending message to this particular queue. If I go to the API receive queue, this is the second resource I'm creating. This is the one, the actual SQS queue. You can see in a role I define this is a queue, and which reference to here. API receive queue is the type of SQS, and as you can see, it's a type is QA, and properties we need to say it's not a standard queue, it's a different type of special queue, which is FIFO, and we give it a name on the queue name. As you can see, this is a string substitution in AWS, and this is the environment type. I'm passing a environment to change the name of the queue. This is just a simple example. The one that I want to show. Okay, this is you can substitute variable and you can change the name. So as you can see, this once you deploy this queue, this template to the SAM CLI, so it should create a queue called my demo queue, my dash demo dash queue, and whatever the environment type you are passing, it may be dev. In this case, I'm sending the dev and .FIFO. This is a queue name, and this is a standard configuration. This is I put in just a two variable: visibility timeout and message retention type. Message retention type is basically how many days you need to keep. How many seconds, in this case a second, how many seconds you want to keep the message in the queue. So after that it's automatically get deleted, and you can put whatever the parameters or the properties of the queue over here, but I'm not much interesting so in this scenario. So if I go to the third one is basically the actual API. So here if I go back to a little bit up, so we create the role, we create the queue, then we are creating API gateway. So this is the fun part. Like if you come to here, you can see this is the type of serverless API, and under properties, all the good stuff undergoes through under properties. So if I go, it says okay, what is the stage name? And this is not much interesting. So if I come to the definition body is basically all the configuration we can set in API gateway. This is I'm setting the Saga. You don't need to necessarily read. You need to set the schema. Yes, I'm setting. I'm supporting this API supporting HTTPS and HTTP. You can do this is an array. In this case, I'm saying HTTPS and the path. So here I'm start defining a endpoint. So I'm saying the first endpoint is exporter. It's give it a name, any name, whatever you like, and I'm getting exporter, and this is the post method. Here I'm saying okay, this is the response. If it is API get successful, this is the response. Go back to the caller, and the other bit is this is the integration. Say okay, what kind of integration I'm doing with the API gateway. So as you can say, I'm give you the credential. This is the role. Basically, I'm created in the top. I'm just reference to the API gateway. Get the ARN, get attribute. So if you say what is it? This is a function called get attribute. What does it say? It's a get the ARN of this resources. In this case, it get the ARN of particular this role, and the URI. So basically URI, this is says okay, where do we create? If you can see the sub, like you can see the as a URI we give okay region and AWS account. This is get automatically generated by the template. They know okay what is the region and what is the account ID, and you just need to put API receiver queue dot queue name. As you can see, this is the API receiver queue, which is defining if I go a little bit up, the same name, API receiver queue. And if I go down, yes, and the queue name, it's get the queue name from this queue. And okay, this is the response, and even default response is true. And what I want to show you the template and request parameter. As you can see, we need to set the request parameter, and the content type is www form URL encoded, and request template. This is where you put some logic to grab some variable, for example duplication ID from the request and pass to the SQS FIFO SQS as a deduplication ID or the group ID. So make sure so you need to do I'll get the highlight this one. As you can see, this within the colon, within the double quote, you need to put, okay, this is a set. I'd say I'm getting the duplication ID. This is a variable I'm defining. Get the request ID from the context. The second parameter I'm setting a group ID. This is the one I'm used to populate as a group ID for the SQS, and this is a variable I'm reading from the request. So this is a request come to API gateway. So I'm assuming it has a JSON has a data has a job number. It's something like this. If I do, I'm expecting the response something like this. If I go data, and within the data I'm expecting job number, the job number. This is come on, let's say test 1 2 3 4 5. If I change language, JSON, I want to show like this is the kind of response come to API gateway. So once you come to get this response, what I'm doing, I'm extract this job number and populate into you can see the I'm getting the group ID, job number, and assign to group ID and pass to message group ID as a message group ID into queue. Like this is a message group ID, and this is a message deduplication ID. You need to pass for the FIFO queue. You need to pass message group ID and message deduplication ID. Right, I'll put this one in GitHub. As I mentioned, you can find this the string, whatever the string it's mentioned, and this is pretty much whatever you can see in the console, and the type, and it's never like one was to create this actual API resource, API gateway resource, so we can have a look. So this is something you need to do to achieve this. So if I go back, and that's all, everything is done. Now what I'm doing, I'm going to deploy this template. So this is a here I mentioned the actual string. So if I break down to here, make sure this if I go to API gateway, I just need to show you something interesting. Within this string, you need to make sure this is come with the new line, backslash new line, otherwise it won't work. So if I go back, this is something, the actual string I mentioned in the template. Right, so if I want to deploy, how do I deploy? So basically this is the command you need to run in to deploy this serverless template. The SAM deploy, then stack name, you give it a stack name, any name, and this is the template file. The template file you need to do, okay, which template file, what is the template file, what are the resources in defined in the particular file, and the capabilities, you need to mention this capability, because we are creating a role. Otherwise if you do not mention this capability, it's failing the creating the stack. You can try, of course, you can try without this and you can learn something. And then otherwise we do have some parameter defined in the template, so you need to pass parameter as a key value. In this case you can see parameter, the environment type, that's something I create in if I go back in the template file, and I need to pass the string. In this case I'm sending a div. Like let's run this command in terminal, right? So I still haven't clicked. So if I go, I want to show there's nothing in the API gateway. If I go to the API gateway, you can see you can't nothing anything, and the SQS and the Cloudformation. Okay, this is something I tried last time. Let's try stack. Okay, no, nothing over there, and that's all, right? If I run this, you can see, let's run this, As a SAM template, you can see lots of information while it's running. It says you can see it's a kind of creating a changes. It's called change set. And let's give a few seconds. So meanwhile, we go to the Cloudformation stack, and as you can see, it start progressing. So it's creating my demo stack, and if I click on that, you can see what's going on in the event. If you go to the event, you can see it's reviews in progress. So let's I'll pause this video for 2 to 3 seconds and I'll come back again. Right, I'm back. Seems as you can see, template get deployed successfully. As it's got, it shows what other resources getting created, and it's basically show ongoing process what's going on with the command. The same thing you can go and have a look in the Cloudformation in a console. As you can see, this is the logs event. I would say event get created through our template. Right, let's go to API Gateway. If I give a refresh, let's give a refresh. Yes, it's create our API, and if I click on that, and as we said, it's a API endpoint is exporter, and it's a post request, and it's everything is set up through the template. If I go to integration request, click on integrations request, as you can see, it's set up the what the type, it's a AWS service, and the execution role, the one that we created on the fly, and path override basically it's pointing to the queue name. If I go to queue, my demo.queue, if I go to the Amazon queue and give a refresh, yes, it's created our FIFO queue. It's a type with the FIFO queue, and let's see what else we need to see. Okay, it's a role. Let's see our role get created. If I go to our role, the role name is something like this. If I come, need to give a refresh. Yes, it got created to the template. So everything is created as expected. We got the API, we got the SQS, and we got the IAM role. Now let's see whether it's working, of course, right? So how do we do that? If you go to the resource again, this is a port request, and let's do some testing, right? So we click on the, if people do know, we can click on this test icon, and it's come with some UI, and where this you can put your input. So in this case, as I mentioned, we are expecting data, and within the data, it's expecting job number. So job number, and let's give a job number 1 2 3 test, and let's try. This is working. Currently you can see there's no any messages, and let's create let's push one of the payload called the API Gateway. As you can see in the right side, you can see the response, and response received status 200 blah blah blah, and it's all come with all the good stuff, message ID and the status code. If I go to the SQS console, yes, you can see the message available in queue. If I click on that, let's see what's the message. I'm into the queue and click on the send and receive message, and go very down, and you can poll the message, and you can see one message got populated over here, and you can see the body. Yes, the job number, the response we send, as it is, it's created in the queue, and plus if you click on the details, you can see the message group ID, it's created with the proper one, which is job number. and it's created the some GUID, a random GUID for the deduplication ID. Right, so that's pretty much how do you create a CloudFormation template to integrate API gateway and SQS FIFO. So again, this is a special queue, the FIFO queue. The normal standard queue, it's pretty easy, but FIFO queue is a bit of work. But yeah, so I hope you enjoy this video, and if you like this video, comment below. If you have any query, if you any issues while you are running this one, please comment below. I'll get as soon as possible. So thank you so much again. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. See you on next video. Thanks.